It's been a little while, but we're back on the bourbon. Hello and welcome back to the channel, and yes, it is time for another bourbon review. It has been a while since I've done one, but today we're in with a brand new bottle opening of Elijah Craig's small batch. Now this is a proper Kentucky bourbon. It is from the Heaven Hill distillery, and this is not only the first time I'm reviewing something from Elijah Craig on the channel, but also from Heaven Hill in general. I keep saying from Elijah Craig, it's really just that's one of the Heaven Hill brands, but anyway, you get the idea. This one rocks in at 47% or 94 proof for people that would rather use that metric. Now, interestingly, when doing a bit of research for this video, I did discover that normally this bottle in the UK retails at around £44. However, right now on at least 2 stores, it's down to 34. Whether that will still be the case when this video actually gets released in a few days' time or not, I don't know. I would assume it's probably Black Friday related, although hopefully that will go on a little bit longer. But yes, currently it is available a little bit cheaper, so I thought it was a good time to review it. So let's get us straight into here. One of those fiddly, annoying little plastic caps. Just before I pull the cork off it, here is a quick look at the bottle itself. I mean, it's a very nice thing. It's quite a thin, relatively thin bottle, which makes the colour in there all the more impressive. It does look pretty dark indeed, probably slightly darker on camera than in real life. But yeah, it's a glorious looking thing on my shelf, and to be honest, I think the reason I haven't reviewed it before now was simply that, well, it just looks so perfect and full, but all good things have to come to an end. Oh, and the top of the cap as well looks absolutely beautiful. Look at that little engraved Elijah Craig thing there. I keep wanting to say Elijah Wood. This is not a Hobbit.
Frodo! 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 Mr. Frodo! 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 Mr. Frodo!
Anyway, let's get this open. How is that cork pop? Oh, that... Okay. I mean, I know it makes no difference whatsoever, but that's my favourite cork pop I think I've had on the channel so far. That was stupendously pleasing to the ear. Let's get a drop in here. It's a funny little pouring spout on there, very wide at the top. I'm not sure how to go about this. It's nearly as wide as the Glencairn top itself. In the glass then, I mean, it's got this nice rich, it is just a touch darker than a lot of others at this kind of price point. Nice kind of deep rich gold. It's got an orangey hue more than anything else, but it looks very nice indeed. Very, very appetizing. The aromas on this, which now I'm slightly concerned about, because I just realized as I sat down to film, I've got a slightly stuffy nose, but hopefully we'll be able to power on through it. Ooh, very pleasant, very sweet. Sometimes when I'm doing these reviews, these videos that I'm actually filming are immensely long, because when you get into something for the first time, you don't really know what to expect, and it can take you a few minutes just to really process everything in there. But fortunately for you, I cut it all out, so I'll be back in no time at all with an answer. The more I move it around the glass, the hotter it gets. The booze is really starting to lift itself out of here, and in fact I'm going to leave it still for a minute because it's becoming almost masking of anything else. When I first opened it, it was this nice big sweet, almost kind of like a s'more, like a, you know, marshmallow biscuit, chocolate kind of savory biscuit thing going on with it that was just absolutely fantastic. But after swilling it around in the glass for a moment, it really has lost a bit of that, which is a shame. It's definitely starting to open up into a few new flavors. There's definitely a bit of citrus in there, possibly a hint of menthol and mint as well. There's also kind of like a mild, I don't quite want to say pine, but it's like halfway between kind of grassy and piney. It's definitely something slightly vegetal but fresh, and yeah, certainly something reminiscent of the great outdoors. Anyway, this would be fantastic on a little mountainside. And there's the usual vanilla, caramel, bourbon notes, but also something just distinctly slightly savoury to go along with it, which I'm enjoying, but I don't really understand yet what it is. There's just, yeah, kind of on the one extreme you've got the sweetness, vanilla, caramel, fudgy, you know, the marshmallow thing, and then all the way on the other side you've got that slightly more abrasive, aggressive, citrus, menthol, piney, grassy note. And then somewhere in the middle there's this kind of It's not quite bready, and it's not quite kind of umami kind of, you know, savouriness. But there's just this distinct little, yeah, cracker is the best thing I've got so far, but I don't think it's quite right. But anyway, let's get into it, shall we? Cheers. Oh yeah, that is not a bad bourbon at all. Interestingly, I was expecting it to maybe be a little bit more gentle than it is. It's still, relatively speaking, an entry-level bourbon. It's pretty cheap by most counts, and despite that, it does step away a bit from that kind of traditional woody, sweet thing that you get with, I guess, the more universally rated lower-end bourbons. Thinking, you know, like Buffalo Trace and Maker's Mark. They're all, I guess, complex enough, but kind of wholly about the sweetness, and I'm not sure this really is. It's a really interesting experience. Right up front, over most of the tongue actually, while it's in your mouth, you are getting distinct vanilla, caramel, almost a bit of sugar cookie kind of thing sat there, and you think, oh, this is just sweet bourbon, and it's perfectly pleasant, very enjoyable, feels dynamic enough to be interesting, but not over the top. And then, as you swallow it, it's kind of instantly switching up, and it delivers a bit of that citrusiness, quite a lot of menthol note, and I'm noticing that my nose has miraculously cleared, so if you've got a cold, actually, maybe not a bad way to go around fixing it. And I should probably point out that is not medical advice, just seek your own physician's help with that one. But anyway, the rest of it, well, definitely a lot going on there. What I'm going to do is something that I don't normally do with my bourbon reviews, and is treat it like I do when I review beer, which is, well, review it from the very front of the palate all the way through to the aftertaste. Front of the palate, tip of the tongue, you know what I mean. But I feel like with this one, it will actually do it justice. Normally I think that's not going to help, but yeah, this time it definitely is. So right on the tip of the tongue, sweet, honey, slightly floral, slightly grassy actually now I'm focusing in on it, but much more natural sweetness right there on the tip. Then over the first third of the tongue, that morphs very nicely into the actual barrel itself. Oak tannins, nice rich woody note. It's not too aggressive though, it's just subtle, soft. We're just moving through the flora and fauna really to that point. Then mid palate, bit of a boozy hit actually, quite spiky, quite prickly. I was expecting more sweetness there actually, but really, yeah, not a whole great deal to talk about. Right on the back of the tongue, vanilla note starts to come in. Relatively sweet, but not over the top. You swallow it, and then, to be honest, actually the sweetness does build more than I originally thought. After the fact, you start to get a bit of caramel, you do start to get a little bit of toffee, and then just as you've kind of acknowledged it, it all gets completely wiped away with, I say, very subtle citrusy flair, and then it's not huge amounts of menthol, but it's very cleansing, cleaning, opens up the airways, and leaves you with a ever so slightly dry palate with a kind of a semi-savoury finish, which is exactly that thing I was talking about from the aroma. It's something just sat right in the middle of that kind of flavour spectrum that, I'll be honest, even after tasting it, I still can't quite put my finger on. Now, I did do a bit of research into Heaven Hill and Elijah Craig as a whole, and apparently they are quite renowned for quite peanutty, nutty forward whiskies, and I wouldn't be surprised if that slightly savoury finish is that, you know, that peanutty signature that they seem to have. But whilst there are hallmarks of it, it's not truly there in this particular bottle, which is a bit of a shame because I really like peanutty whiskey, but hey, you can't win them all. But it is overall very, very nice, but it won't be for everyone. Just before we get into who this is for, I'm going to give you a quick overview of the mouthfeel on this, because it's something we didn't actually touch on. But for a 47%er, which is strong but not crazy really, it's just, I guess, just one level up from your regular 40% stuff. It is very nice, very slick in the mouth. It is relatively thin still, but it just flows. It's got a nice texture to it, which, to be honest, makes it feel much more upmarket than it actually is. So who is this small batch for then? Well, to be honest, if your preference is with things like Wild Turkey 101, Buffalo Trace or Maker's Mark, then it might not be for you. question. But if you like things like Bullet Bourbon or Maker's Mark, Woodford Reserve, then actually this might be a nice little step up because it's got a bit more of those kind of flavour hallmarks for me. The experience as a whole feels a little bit more mentholy. It's kind of spicy, but not enough to really pick it out. It just leaves this kind of slightly, very mildly kind of white peppered thing on the tongue, but it's not really enough to pick out as a distinct note because it gets very much masked by a lot of the sweetness and that more savoury note, and it kind of just blends in with it. So it's not a properly spicy whiskey, this, by any means. Speaking of, I forgot to talk about the mash bill, but I will put it on screen now because I can't remember it off the top of my head. But in essence, it's a pretty regular kind of straight down the middle bourbon mash bill on this. Just a bit of rye and a bit of barley, but majority, of course, coming from the corn. Why did I forget corn? Anyway, yeah, I mean, for me, this is a bit more of a sit down and consider kind of whiskey, but at the same time, well, it's cheap enough just to do really whatever the hell you want with, and I, for one, will definitely be giving it another try. Is there anything else at this price point that is just leaps and bounds that I've not already reviewed, or in fact, should I be putting them up head to head with this? Eagle Rare, in terms of a price point, immediately comes to mind. It's slightly cheaper in the UK right now because it's available in more supermarkets, but I feel like, generally speaking, they're on a similar kind of level cost-wise, and it is actually a very, very different experience. So maybe that's one to throw side by side. But yeah, any others, let me know, please, in the comments below. But that really is everything. It's a big thumbs up, but yeah, it's I guess a slightly interesting one, just because it's not, I don't feel like it's replacing anything for me or standing in. I guess, actually thinking about it now, it might replace Woodford Reserve for me in some respects, because I feel like it maybe fills in some of the blanks that is missing, but still gives that quite fairly, that kind of fairly aggressive citrus and menthol quality, but it didn't have some of the slightly antibiotic kind of quality that had. So it's definitely a thing on its own if you like Woodford Reserve, except for that kind of iodine antibiotic thing, and then actually this one will be absolutely fantastic. But anyway, that really is all I've got to say about it. So as always, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like it. If you haven't already, subscribe if you will be so kind, and I'll catch you next time. Cheers.